Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining today in this live webinar on how to avoid and treat respiratory allergies in the spring, of course, according to Ayurveda. Um, Now, of course, in Ayurveda, the spring season is kapha aggravating, which leads to these respiratory allergies like nasal congestion, sinus issues, sneezing, coughing, runny nose, and of course, all types of seasonal allergies. Um, and this is due to the warming temperatures in the spring, liquefying the accumulated kapha or mucus, we could say, that accumulates during the winter, leading to excess mucus and lowered immunity if you don't manage it. Now, I know a lot of people have respiratory allergies every spring, and they've kind of resigned to that as part of life. Well, don't accept these, you know, health issues. If you're having respiratory allergies, the first thing you have to accept is it is treatable. Now, of course, herbal remedies are very effective, and all during the spring, I will be selling hundreds and hundreds of, different herbal teas, immune tea, respiratory tea, cough tea, lung tea, respiratory allergy formula, Ayurveda, respiratory infection formula, and I have different respiratory infection formulas, one with a lot of one for a lot of mucus, one with just a little mucus. So all of these products I'll be doing, and I'll be doing hundreds of appointments all spring long with people with allergies. Now, of course, in these appointments, I educate them on how to not get the allergies next year, which means every year I mostly get new clients, but who for the first time are learning that these respiratory allergies are treatable. But I still get returning clients that have not learned this lesson yet, that they need to change their lifestyle and particularly diet at this time to prevent respiratory allergies, in the spring. And this is, could be your seasonal allergies, could be your cat allergies. In Texas, they call it cedar fever when the cedar comes out. And this is all treatable. And in fact, we're going to talk about today on how it's avoidable. When we really talk about treatment, we're going to talk about using the herbal remedies. But what we're really speaking about today is how to avoid it. Now, because spring is a kapha period, we want to balance kapha. This is a fundamental understanding you have to have of Ayurveda, that all health issues are due to imbalances of the doshas, vata, pitta, and kapha, and the accumulation of ama. And that's exactly what happens in the spring from the accumulation of kapha during the uh, uh, winter months. And then as it warms up and liquefies, this creates the mucus and the ama, which is toxins basically, and creating the immune reaction and then creating the allergy. See, Ayurveda is a very different system than the West. I mean, the anatomy is different, the treatment's different, the diagnosis is different, everything is different because it was designed thousands of years ago, and they don't concern themselves with nutritional points. This is a modern concept. And are more into avoiding and stay health issues. And this involves staying in tune with nature. And this involves changing your diet for the season. So to balance kapha at this time of year, kapha, of course, is heavy, cold, moist, stable, so these are qualities of a kapha person who has a kapha imbalance, but it's also the qualities that in the season itself, just like winter is more vata, where it's cold and dry, in the spring, we have more uh, warm and moist. So, uh, you know, so what is it? What should we be doing? We should be having more lighter foods, more drying foods to absorb the mucus, more warming and heating foods. This means to avoid a lot of dairy. For example, I was doing a lot of milk during winter time, and I still do it during summer because it's extremely cooling. But now I'm doing more coconut milk. Coconut milk is also very cooling and not as heavy. No fried foods, less sugary foods, and absolutely no cold foods. One of the biggest causes I see of respiratory allergies, even people that end up contacting me because they have, they're on a CPAP machine. They can hardly breathe. They got so much mucus. And of course, I'm getting people off of the CPAP machine, but I have to address the cause. I mean, of course, I have herbs that can treat this and help clear the mucus right away. But generally, the cause is the same for most of these people, and that's having cold foods, cold drinks, ice water, iced tea is the worst thing you could have in the springtime. A little bit safer in the summer when it's hot, but during the spring, we should have warm foods and, ginger, onions, spicy foods, hot teas, ginger tea, and a lemon, garlic, these things that are warming and heating. And another cause I see a lot of times for people with on CPAP machines, respiratory problems, which can start with just snoring. I mean, snoring is the early sign of respiratory problems, but mucus accumulation, then you can't breathe, then you're on a CPAP machine for the rest of your life. This is what I see. And then that's when they usually come to me. Nobody really comes in the early stages for snoring, even though the wives do complain about it. Nobody comes to treat their snoring in the early stages, but this is, early stage symptom of difficulty breathing. And what I see, what I'm leading up to here is having yogurt at night. This is one of the number one causes, or ice cream. See, ice cream at night is kapha increasing. One, the sun's going down, so it's not hot anymore. And even Ayurveda says don't have cold things after the sun goes down. And they didn't know about ice cream. That's about as cold as it gets. And then ice cream, particularly if it's got dairy in it, it's heavy, then it's cold, then you're having it late at night. So you're breaking three rules there in spring. You're having something cold, heavy, and you're having it at night. So they're having this ice cream every night and or yogurt. Sometimes it's yogurt or both, and then iced tea during the day. And I've had many cases where I just told them to eliminate that. Of course, I sent them, like some respiratory allergy tea. I have respiratory allergy formula. I have respiratory tonics with high mucus. I have respiratory tonics with low mucus. So I have the herbal products that will clear it quite quickly. But many people get back to me and say, hey, I just stopped the ice cream, the cold foods, and started drinking ginger tea, and my whole respiratory problem went away. And I'm off the CPAP machine. Now, the herbs help to clear out the mucus, but if they wouldn't have made those changes in their diet, they would have had to just take the herbs forever, just like they have to take their medication forever. So, again, kapha pacifying foods like hot soups with garlic and ginger, cooked leafy greens, beets, and lighter grains than wheat, more like barley, quinoa. Millet's a very dry, light grain. And you can make your own herbal teas, like ginger tea, tulsi tea, cinnamon, put a little pinch of black pepper in there. I know many people are doing turmeric and black pepper. I don't know where they get that from. But it's, turmeric. Ginger would be a better choice. Ginger's better than turmeric. I mean, turmeric's got the antihistamine quality. It's not really that anti-inflammatory unless you get the curcumin. But the best herbs for respiratory health, is particularly tulsi, holy basil. This clears the channels and is also a natural antihistamine. Little black pepper in there, and spices. We have a formula in Ayurveda called Trikatu, means 3 spices, and that's got black pepper, long pepper, and ginger. And we give this in small amounts with the food, and this clears the mucus and clears the phlegm. And we also have traditional formulas like Stipulati Churna, Talasati Churna, which are excellent for these conditions. And also there's what we call nasa. Sorry, I don't have a sample here. I think I've got some here maybe. Up on here's one. Here's one here, nasa. These are little nose drops that you put in your nose, and we do sell some on herbmanteas.com. All of these respiratory products I'm mentioning here, they're all available on Herb Teas, and we'll sell a lot during the spring. The people not watching this. And so these nasa, some of them have like eucalyptus oil in them and warming spices that, they're warm. You put them in your nose and your eyes start watering. I mean, you start feeling it right away. You can also do steam therapy, where you you get some steam, you get a big pot, you throw a little eucalyptus, essential oils, peppermint in it. Uh, of course, Tulsi is really one of the best. You can put Tulsi, that's what Indians do, Tulsi in a big pot. And they boil it up and, put something over their head and breathe it in, kind of a steam therapy. This is very effective. But you can also just use a humidifier, a wet humidifier that you put the uh, my mistake, maybe a dry humidifier. You want dry, but some humidifiers you can put the eucalyptus in it, and it will kind of like steam into the air, and you can boil hot water. Be careful and put a little eucalyptus in it and breathe it in. But these little nasas, these are very effective because one little bottle, I think we sell them for like $7, and you just put them in your nose, kind of snort them in your nose, and then they get right in the nasal passages and they just start breaking up the mucus. It's very simple, but very effective. And then, of course, there's the neti pot that you pour through the nose, and you just use salt. You don't need to buy saline solution for it. I mean, I just put like a quarter teaspoon of salt in it, shake it up, pour it through one nostril, and then fill it up again and pour it through the other nostril, then kind of clean it out. I don't have mucus like that, but that's very effective, the neti pots. You change your diet, have warm foods, get rid of that heavy foods, the kapha increasing foods, and animal protein is the most kapha increasing. So instead of eating hamburgers, have like white chicken and fish, lighter meats, and less dairy for sure. And of course, now in the springtime, this is the best time to fast. It's the best time to cleanse. It's the best time to, lose weight and to go down to 2 meals a day, or some people maybe even 1 meal a day. It's the best time for fasting. Online people talk about fasting, but these people, of course, have not studied Ayurveda. That they're researching on YouTube, I guess, because everybody seems to repeat the same thing. But you shouldn't be fasting during winter. You shouldn't be fasting during when it's cold out. Now is the time to fast. And of course, if you do fast, you fast a whole day, not 12 hours and start pigging out at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Some people say, oh, you just got to fast for 16 hours or 12 hours, and then you get to eat again. No, you should always break a fast. And I remember being taught this when I was a young man in the 80s in India in some Ayurveda class I was going to. Break a fast always in the morning. And you can fast. It doesn't have to be, only water. I mean, you could have fast all day on Tulsi tea, fast all day on ginger tea. I mean, and, hot, warm tea. This will clear the mucus right up, and then start to eat again the next morning, not the night. Never break a fast at night. And I do get a lot of patients who I guess they're on YouTube. This is how I learn about this. Of course, I'm not watching this stuff on YouTube, but I get patients coming to me. Everybody's like, mushrooms, mushroom coffee. What's going on? It's like, oh, it must be popular now. And now everybody's like fasting. And they're basically doing these, not eating all day, even if they're hungry. And then they come home and they start eating at 4 o'clock because they're just counting, oh, I fasted for 12 hours. You don't understand that, for a lot of these people, I was telling them to fast anyway because I told them have 2 meals a day and no snacks. That's fasting. If you're a kapha person, you're overweight and it's spring or the summer, I already probably told you, only 2 meals a day and no snacking except a little fruit. So in a sense, you were already fasting. They just didn't see it as that because they were on YouTube watching something that made them believe they had to not eat all day and then they could start eating in the evening. Well, this is incorrect. You should just fast. Only kaphas really should fast. Vata shouldn't fast at all. We get a lot of thin vata people, particularly postmenopausal women. They have degenerative bones, osteoarthritis, other degenerative conditions like their hair falling out or osteopenia or their nails are weak and they're fasting. And I always say to them, you can't build your bones and stop your hair from falling out by fasting. It's the wrong thing to do if you're a thin, depleted, underweight person. Now, of course, a lot of thin people don't know they're depleted. They just think, hey, they're thin, they look great in a bikini, and they're very happy with that. But in fact, from an Ayurvedic perspective, they are depleted. And you can tell by looking at their hands, seeing the bones protrude. You can see the collarbone protruding. So if you're bony, that's depleted in Ayurveda, and you should not be fasting at all. You could eat a little lighter, but you still have to, if you're a Vata person and you're thin, and you should be still eating your 3 meals a day. It's the kapha person that really is going to do the best with fasting. And this is kapha time of the year. You're a kapha person, means you're heavy, slow, easy to gain weight, round face, round eyes, round shape to you, and easy, if you're a kapha and clammy body temperature, not hot, or you could be kapha pitta. You're the ones with the kapha imbalance, with the extra weight that feels sluggish, heavy, tired. You're the ones that needs to be fasting and eating light. As far as dinacharya, adjusting your daily routine, you should try to wake up earlier in the springtime and try to do more exercise. It's hard to exercise sometimes when it's freezing outside and there's ice on the road. It's hard to run on ice and snow and when it's cold. But now is the best time to do brisk walking, yoga, get up early to, do a little walking or some exercise or some light weights and some breathing practices. And of course, avoid naps in the day. A nap is a weight gainer if you nap during the day. And like I said, this is the time to do a detox or cleanse. I really don't like the term detox because what are you detoxing? And we have 78 organs and, certain major organs we want to cleanse: our liver, our colon, our skin, our lungs, our blood. Any of these can be detoxed or cleansed out. So it's really quite individualized there's really no one detox for everybody. But by eating light, maybe starting having lemon, ginger tea, maybe stopping all animal protein for a while and just doing a khichdi cleanse, which is mung dal and brown rice, and taking at least some herbs at night for your colon. That would be the minimum cleanse. Of course, as my patients are coming to me these days, many of them I'm recommending they do a cleanse, and everybody's different. So I give different colon herbs. Some people have already 3 or 4 bowel movements a day, so you only give them a very light colon herb. Some people are very constipated, so I have to give them stronger herbs. Some people are warm, so I have to give them cooling herbs. Some people are cold, so I have to give them heating herbs. So you can't give the same people the same cleanse. So these are just basic guidelines to reduce the kapha and get rid of this ama, this toxic buildup, which is generally in the form of mucus. So you're just trying to clear the mucus. If you have mucus, sneezing, runny nose, you're the one that needs to do the cleanse and eat lighter. And also the second aspect of this, of avoiding respiratory allergies, which is what we're talking about here, you want to build your immunity too, and there's many things we can do for that. There's many herbs like ashwagandha, guduchi. Even tulsi is really good for building immunity. And in Ayurveda, we have the famous formula chawan prash. Prash means jam. Chawan was the guy who made it. And this is really a kind of a jam. We don't sell it because it's available now everywhere online. At one point, 10 years ago, I used to sell it, but now you can find it online. So you can get some good chawan prash online. And it's very good during the winter time. I take it all winter. I don't really take it much in the springtime because I don't have mucus or congestion. So, but the most important thing is to change your diet and avoid the heavy, cold foods. No heavy meats, no fried foods, eat lighter meats. And of course, if you're kapha, and you should just stop almost all animal protein and have your legumes and your beans, because these are perfect for weight loss and to avoid these allergies because they're light and they're dry and they reduce cholesterol, excess lipids in the body. They help you lose weight. They clear out the gallbladder, they're high in fiber. They clear out the colon. So, Ayurveda is not a fixed system where it says, oh, we should all be vegetarian or we should all eat this way. No, it's extremely individualized and actually very, very sophisticated beyond most people's understanding of how sophisticated it is. But for, like I said, for those thin vata type people who are generally running a little depleted, hopefully they gained some weight during the winter and didn't fast and make the whole situation worse. These people need to keep having animal protein. And then, of course, the heavy kapha who's 40, 50 pounds overweight, he doesn't need any more animal protein. He should be doing the legumes and 2 meals a day, dry, hot foods to help to lose the weight. So just to review, warm, spicy foods and herbs, steaming, nasa, this oil therapy, immune boosting formulas like Chyawanprash, proper sleep, little home detoxes like lemon, ginger water, doing a 1 week khichdi cleanse with no animal protein except for ghee. Ghee, the advantage of ghee is they've removed the animal protein. It's like the oil of the butter, and the butter's the essence of the milk. So ghee, it doesn't have the mucus creating bad cholesterol creating properties. So that's why Ayurveda only advocates for ghee, not butter. Okay. So I hope that motivated you to, change your diet and to, avoid these respiratory allergies in the spring. But of course, if you still get them, then contact me. We'll do an appointment. I'll review your diet, and I'll give you the herbs. My name's Kabir Southwick, Ayurvedic doctor and pharmacist, and practiced for 27 years and doing Zoom appointments worldwide, and the founder of Urban Teas, where we can find most of these products. That's urbanteas.com for more information about the products or doing an appointment with me. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I wish you the best of health, and I wish you a spring without any allergies or congestion.